Before we put the heat on me, there was only one person talking more reckless than I was, and I'm glad he's here to take the heat off of me a little bit. Mike, I listen. I predicted 1,000 rushing yards. I predicted the Gus Bus to go all up and down the field. Instead, it was a flat tire.
You doubled down, like all on business. You stood on the business, bro. I appreciate it, though.
Unfortunately, the business was quicksand.
Thank you guys for having me back on. I was getting a little concerned the week leading up to the game. I never heard from you. And then hours after the game's over, my inbox lights up. All of a sudden, you want me back on the show.
That's right.
I'm happy to come on, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, Mike, you hit us up before the game. You tagged us all in a pre-jog. You was in my city, using the 3-5, just vibing, man. Like jogging around with your shirt off. Like you kick your feet up. I was ready to disrespect my venue. And
he was on the corner, Stadium and Gale, asking where we were. So Mike, you're here, ready to stand in the paint. Nick and I had the privilege of going on the Sons of UCF podcast on Thursday. But here's an opportunity, Mike. The Gators do win in what's a rather uneventful game. The first half certainly a lot better than the second half, just in terms of activity. But final score 24-13. What happened to the Central Florida Golden Knights in this game?
Yeah, same thing that happened all over college football all day Saturday. Big upsets all over the place. You saw Alabama go down to Vandy. You saw Tennessee go down to Arkansas. You saw.
Would you say UF beating UCF is on par with Vanderbilt beating Alabama in terms of the upset of the day, Mike?
They were 3-point underdogs at home to the UCF Knights coming into the game. Which, if I told you that, I don't know, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, last week, that a UCF team that was coming off a 27-point drubbing to the hands of Colorado would be favored by 3 points in the swamp against the Gator team, coming off a bye week, coming off a victory on the road against Mississippi State. You would have said I was crazy. You would have said that was some stupid shit that I wrote. Oh, can I say that? Sorry.
No, yeah, you're fine. I mean, Mike, I'll be honest with you. You're lucky that Billy Napier doesn't know how to step on the throats of his opponents.
I'm telling you.
3 total drives in the entire second half for the Florida Gators. Some conspicuous play calling maybe in that second half, but at no point, Mike, and you have to admit, did UCF look on par with the Florida Gators from a talent perspective, from a coaching perspective? Is the Gus Bus running out of gas?
Yeah, the Gus Bus. I mean, you ask anybody in Orlando, they're done with the Gus Bus. I mean, this another indictment on Florida that this is a fireable offense. Losing to Florida in the swamp. People want Gus gone because of this game. Not just this game, but the prior game against Colorado, and kind of how the program's gone backwards in the last 4 years from where it was just under Heupel and under Frost. He has not improved the program, though the recruiting supposedly has gotten better. He brings in a guy like KJ Jefferson to be the quarterback, and Jefferson was terrible. And he's been terrible all year. I mean, he was missing wide open guys. And there's a screen pass there on one of those last couple of drives where he almost throws it over the guy's head.
Yeah.
He's 2 feet in front of him.
Yeah, that may have been one of the worst passes I've seen a college football quarterback make this year. No, I mean, no offense, but just it was bad.
No, he's been doing that all year. He's had a good half of play against TCU. The second half against TCU, he was good making throws. Before that, the New Hampshire game, he was bad. The Sam Houston game, he was not that great. A half good against TCU. Colorado, he was bad. And Florida, he was bad again. I mean, he was missing some wide open guys. He looks slower than he has been in the last couple seasons. So that's who Gus was basing this season on, was bringing in a guy who supposedly had SEC experience, KJ Jefferson. He was going to make the difference better than John Rice Plumlee, and he just has not been that.
What I'm hearing between KJ Jefferson at Central Florida and DJ DJU at FSU, Ungalalele at FSU is just don't bring in fat quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's a good strategy.
Yeah,
unbelievable body shaming in the year 2024 of our Lord.
2 of the worst quarterbacks in the Power 4 right now, Nick, are your 2 fattest quarterbacks. I'm not trying to fat shame because I've lost some weight this year. I'm just letting you know, like, you can't.
I'm just getting little brother vibes, man. I'm getting I'm a little brother, right? I got a big brother, and every time he used to beat my ass, I had a bunch of excuses. I just couldn't figure it out, So it's just little brother vibes. UCF is still a little brother. Y'all can't get over that hump. Even in a down UF, man, it's just unfortunate circumstances, but you guys cannot get over that hump. This was y'all Super Bowl. And you thought our coach was going to get fired, but you want to fire your coach.
Yeah, no, I'm not here to make excuses for sure. I mean, KJ Jefferson was bad, but I'm not one to come on and say, it's because all these players opted out of the game. I mean, nobody would make excuses like that. Not even Florida Gator fans would come out and say we lost because people were opting out. But it's worth mentioning our number 2 wide receiver, kick returner, punt returner, Xavier Townsend opted out before the game. We had 4 defensive players opt out before the game. Our starting kicker opt out.
Who's going to throw Townsend the ball?
Yeah,
let's
talk culture issues over at UCF before we talk now. But I think beyond KJ, right? Like one of the lower. Was this your lowest rushing total?
Lowest rushing total of the season, yeah.
Yeah. And the Gators, I'll be honest with you, may have been one of the worst rushing defenses in the country coming into this game.
119.
What was it? This is the question that I have. I know RJ Harvey's a great player, probably an NFL player. I was kind of expecting more out of Penny Boone this year. He played okay in this game, but what is it that you think stifled the rushing attack?
Okay.
It's nobody respects the pass, and nobody needs to respect the pass. And we saw with Colorado. I was at the Colorado game last week too. They're putting 9 guys up front. Mm-hmm. They're daring KJ Jefferson complete something over the top, go over the middle, and he can't do it. So until he proves that he can complete those passes, why not stuff everybody up there? You're going to stop the run, and it's obvious. And Gus hasn't changed anything up. He continues to run the ball up the middle or try to run it up the middle. It's very predictable. And Nick mentioned the sense of urgency. I mean, they got the ball back. I know the game didn't seem close, but you got the ball back, and I've seen it a million times in football. You're down 2 scores. There's 4.5 minutes. You got 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. Try to pass the ball, move the ball. They're running the play clock down to 5 seconds before they snap the ball. I was scratching my head. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Mike, y'all used almost the whole third quarter, and then got 3 points. I knew it was a wrap then. Like Gus' offense is set up. If you get down 2 scores, unless he gets really, really explosive in the run game, it's going to be impossible for you to get a comeback because he drains the clock and he can't get vertical. But when you guys spent the whole third quarter, we didn't score any points in the second half, and we should have. A real coach, that's why we're going to fire Billy ass, because a real coach would have put – a real Florida coach would have put 40, 50, 60 points up on this UCF team. And Billy was fine with knowing you guys couldn't go get points and then try to pile on when you got to pile on in those situations. But who's your backup quarterback? Like, who's behind KJ Jefferson?
Ja'Cory Brown, right? Yeah. Ja'Cory Brown from Miami. Yeah, transferred from Miami, but no glowing reviews from him coming out of fall camp. Nobody was saying, oh, he's going to come in and take the job. And we saw him play a little bit in the opener against New Hampshire, came in, fumbled the ball. So it's not like we're all thinking he's the savior. You got a true freshman, EJ Colson, who supposedly has talent, but nobody's seen anything out of him. Dylan Risk is I think the 3rd on the depth chart. He's been here for a couple of years. Nobody's saying he's the future either. You've let guys go like Tommy Castellanos, who's now at Boston College playing okay.
Good player.
Dylan Gabriel obviously was here under Gus his first year. He's gone. So quarterbacks have come and gone. He put all the chips in the middle of the table with KJ Jefferson, and it's just not working out. So this could be a long year in Orlando too. You guys may have just beaten one of the worst UCF teams of the last 5-10 years.
Oh, enjoy being favored. It might be the last time UCF is favored this season in a game.
They're favored again against Cincinnati. I don't get it.
Well,
I don't know your schedule. I'll be honest with you.
Nick's sure don't.
Talking, egregiously here.
Listen, I'm just gonna keep talking egregiously. It worked so well last week. It was over for me once Florida went up 21-3. It's like, all right, well, this offense is not built to overcome that. But the really surprising thing to me was just no urgency, just completely content down 3 scores to spend 5.5 minutes methodically driving down the field. And it wasn't a good drive for Florida's defense, but when UCF scores there, I'm thinking, I mean, it's not bad for Florida's defense. Sure, you would have liked to have gotten a stop, but you gave up 7 and it took 6 minutes to do it. UCF is going to run out of time before Florida gives up enough points to even go into overtime or to potentially lose the game. What was going on just with Gus and the offense just being like, yeah, no, we're fine. We'll take 25 seconds in between each plays, down 3 possessions in the second half.
Yeah, I don't know if he just fell in love with what happened at TCU, because against TCU, we were down 3 touchdowns in the second half too, and he continued to run the ball, and it worked, but we were breaking off long runs, and then there was a long touchdown pass in between. We couldn't see any of that on Saturday, and you're hoping maybe the defense forces a fumble or something and changes field position. I don't know what he was doing, but yeah, he was taking way too long. We asked him in the press conference afterwards, what's going on there in the last 4 minutes? He had no answers. He looks lost on the sidelines right now, Gus does, and that's one of the reasons a lot of UCF fans are upset. And I think a lot of us have now seen enough of Gus. It's been 4 years. Usually that's the amount of time you give a new coach to get his system implemented, his players in, and things have just not gotten better. I know we stepped up. We're in the Big 12 now, but I mean, the game against Colorado, we got embarrassed at home. This game was embarrassing too.
Yeah, and that
I
TCU
think outside of the quarterback.
Go ahead.
Yeah, outside the quarterback, your line of scrimmage, man, is just lacking. I seen that in the Colorado game. That made me excited. And I said that last week. From a trenches standpoint, there was nothing to fear there. I thought we was bigger, stronger, and we're gonna be able to do some things. The only thing that was gonna hold us back from beating y'all after what I saw in Colorado was Billy Napier. Other than that, the talent, there's a big talent gap. What do you guys standing in Big 12? You just giving up on the season, or where you at with it?
No, I mean, if you look at a big picture, you have one loss. It's in the Big 12, and you have one loss. There's a whole season to go. I go back a long ways with UCF. I've been following this team since '98 when I was a freshman, right? So I've seen it all. I've seen winless seasons. This was not the most embarrassing Saturday of my life. We lost in Tampa one time, 64-12 to South Florida.
That's what it should have been.
I remember that.
That's what it should have been.
So trust me, there was a point in the first half when I looked at my buddy. I said, "Is this 64-12 again?" I was a little worried when it was 24-3.
He doesn't know how to do that.
But in that same season, that was 2007. We lost an embarrassing game to East Carolina with Chris Johnson. You remember Chris Johnson, who was great, went on to play in the NFL. He ran all over us, killed us at East Carolina. The next week, we gave up 64 points to USF. 2 weeks in a row, we gave up 116 points. They ran off like the next 7 games, won Conference USA that year. So one loss in conference doesn't kill you. This loss actually has no effect on you. But if you look at the team and the way they've been playing, nobody has any confidence that they're going to run off 7 in a row, especially with teams that they have on the schedule. BYU, who nobody thought at the beginning of the year was going to be good, looks like they're pretty good. Arizona is not going to be easy. We're not going to be able to stop that passing attack. Yeah, Fafita's going to throw all over us. Utah at the end of the year is a very tough team. Even Cincinnati has been playing well. We played them this week, and I'm not even that confident against Cincinnati, which is crazy to say because coming into the year, I told you we would have blown them out.
It's a lot of dejection down there in Orlando, Mike. It's not hurricane related, you know.
It's a lot of talk about the AAC plus, which essentially is what the Big 12 is.
The mid 12. Yeah, I mean, tough loss for you guys, huge win for us. Before we had, have you
actually, Mike, if you want to stay for like the full show,
no. Nick's got to stand in the
keep the attention off of me, Mike. That'd be great.
Week, so we got to revisit Nick's takes. Nick and you were the only ones to pick UCF on this show. So Nick's got to stand in the paint. I might put him in the big screen and keep Corey and I on the sideline here, just so Nick can stand in the paint.
Yeah, I mean, I told you guys I could stay until 7:30. I'm a big Yankee fan. I got to watch the Yankee game. I'm not even doing my own podcast tonight because I told them I'm watching the Yankees. We'll record tomorrow. So you got me for another few minutes if you want. But
no, I'm trying to keep the heat off of me, Mike. That's
go ahead.
I got one more for you. How you feel about the USF rivalry? They're pretty good this year.
They're better than I thought they'd be, but they're not that good either. I mean, they got their doors blown off against Tulane a couple of weeks ago, right? But it was a fun game when we played them every year. They're the closest geographical school to us. There is history with them going back. Now we played them, 12 times, whatever it is, the number of times we played them. I mean, a lot of times have been close games, even though there's been years where they were 2-win teams. Somehow they'd give us a close game at the end. Even when we were down and they were in the Big East and in 2005, 2006, 2007, some of those games were close. 2008 game went to overtime, and they were like a top 15 team at the time. So it's a fun game. The fans get into it. I wouldn't mind seeing it every once in a while, but I don't miss them. I don't want to play them, and I don't want to play them in a bowl game this year, not with the way our team's playing. So I wouldn't want to risk losing to them, to be honest.
Mike, I got a question for you. Outside of potentially Billy Napier, who's on your coaching hot board?
Urban Meyer. How's that?
Already said he's not coaching. I was texting
Scott Frost. Bring Scott back home.
That's what I was just gonna say. Scott Frost is texting my UCF buddy the other day. He's like, I don't know who we should get. I was like, go get the guy that had his head between his legs, heading out of Nebraska. I think he's with the Rams now.
He needs his OC though. I don't think he needs the game.
I always thought
get the game back together.
This was before the transfer portal era, but like I always thought there's too much talent in the state of Florida for the big three, and there is no big four, Mike. For the big three to take everyone.
Oh, you out, Mike.
And that Scott, but I thought that Scott would get guys who would instead go to like Georgia Tech or maybe go to Clemson to be a backup for a while. Like there's so much talent in the state of Florida. If you had a guy like Scott Frost with that kind of offense, like, hey, UCF could be really good. Obviously, he wanted to give it a shot in Nebraska, who I don't think will ever be a national contender, even with Dylan Raiola. But get Scott Frost back at UCF.
I agree.
A little disrespectful for you to kick FSU out of the big three already. I mean, they're having a down year. I get it. But they were 13-0 at one point.
Mike, and just like that, you've won back all of Florida fans, all of Gator Nation, back on your side.
Now, you guys got to get a skinny quarterback, though. No fat quarterbacks in the big three, you know?
Look, Urban was on campus last week for Big Noon kickoff. Okay, and before the game was ugly, but before the game, the crowd was there. I think he saw the co-eds walking around Orlando. I got to he was impressed. Okay,
I know he's a big fan of co-ed.
Yes. So Urban back in Florida, and that would kind of needle you guys a little bit. I wouldn't mind that. Scott Frost, I wouldn't mind either. Let's face it. And we had a great time with Scott Frost. Everybody always, every once in a while, calls their ex up a little bit when they had a few drinks and says, I wouldn't mind getting back together.
Hey, Scott, you up?
Yeah, exactly.
Mike, let's be real here. Urban Meyer's not going back.
Urban Meyer would go back to Mormon, Utah before he came to UCF.
Come on. Mike, I respect you staying in the paint, but now you're talking egregiously again. Kind of like UCF beating Florida. Now you're like, we'll go get Urban Meyer. Buddy, I'll be honest with you. Urban Meyer's not coming back to UCF. He's not coming back to coach, but he's definitely not going back to coach UCF.
I think Nick Saban would be his defensive coordinator at UCF too.
Yeah, and Belichick.
Yeah, there. What a staff.
I'll give you the list of coaches that have been removed off of my hot board recently. So you can go after one of them.
Leopold?
I've recently removed Kalen DeBoer, Kirby Smart. Both of them have been removed off of my hot board.
Can't lose.
No, Austin Armstrong and Ron Roberts did enter the list, though, Nick. Not sure if you saw that. But there's an opportunity for them to be removed next week.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an opportunity. We're writing these in pencils. All right. Well, Mike, we appreciate you going on. I wish I could say go Yankees, but I don't have that affinity. But we do appreciate you coming on. Not everybody would come on and staying in the paint, man. And let everybody know where they can listen to your podcast. We had a lot of fun with the boys the other day, too. Let everybody know where they can follow you.
Sons of UCF, we do a live pod. Well, they do a live pod on Thursdays. I don't join that one much anymore, but we also do a regular podcast, comes out once a week. We've got a bunch of other spin-off shows that we put out with the pod that's associated with them. This is a good time. I'm a fan. I don't consider myself part of the media. That's my job. I just come in and tell it like it is. I like to talk trash. You guys know that. I did that leading up for the last couple of months. But we lose. I come on and say we lost. That's part of the game.
You did your job, right? You enjoyed that. What do you think of Gainesville?
I like Gainesville. I like the campus.
I saw your tweet. The best view of Gainesville was your rear view mirror. I saw it.
I like the campus. Gainesville itself, I've been to Gainesville 100 times. When I was a student, I used to go up and visit friends. The city, I could do without it. But the campus itself, I did take that jog around campus in the morning. I like it. It was nice. The brick buildings, the hilly streets, it was very picturesque. I enjoyed it. The city itself,
nicer campus than UCF.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. UCF is a newer style campus. Gainesville's got that. It's got the old field.
Enjoy the campus.
No, UCF is ugly. Come on.
The stadium. Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. It's got all the charm of a building that was built during the Great Depression. I get it. The concessions are terrible, by the way. I mean, the two beer options are Mick Ultra and High Noons. I mean,
you've got the head ball coach.
Well, no, you've got Shock Top too, which is the official craft beer of the Florida Gators.
Not where I was sitting.
They needed hard liquor for that game.
Yeah, we need to get you up to the club section.
We needed shots of Patron and shit like that for that game.
Yeah, we'll get you.
I feel your pain, Mike.
The in-stadium experience was fine. I mean, it had the perfect mix of corniness with the two bits chant, and then the originality of putting your lights on for the Tom Petty song. No, I don't think anybody's thought about that. Turning your cell phone lights on at night. That's a very original thought for you guys.
We appreciate you, Mike. Don't criticize Tom Petty. You can criticize.
I enjoy the Tom Petty,
like John Anderson and Seminole Win and stealing our mojo, but no, you are not going to criticize Tom Petty on this podcast or the great tradition of two bits. Maybe
what a roller coaster Mike's taking us on.
Yeah, Mike, appreciate you, brother. We'll have you come back on.
In all seriousness, though, be careful out there. I know that storm's coming right to you guys.
Yeah.
Be safe. Take care of each other. Okay. I want to be able to make that trip up there again in a few years. Though that drive was terrible. I'm coming from South Florida. It took me forever to get up there, dude. I got to be honest. 6 hours is too much. But yeah, be careful out there, okay? Everybody stay safe, and I'll talk to you guys soon, okay?